Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Bewlett. It is Sunday today, and I was hoping to have something uploaded by now, but unfortunately I had a lot of unexpected technical issues that I encountered. A lot of stuff got corrupted, and nothing would upload correctly, and the quality was just compromised, and I had to play around with a lot of stuff, but I have some campaign gameplay and some multiplayer gameplay as well. We're going to talk about both of those in this video, and talk about first impressions now that I've had a day or so to play around with it. So, starting with the campaign, I have to say right away that the graphics and the sound and everything, I was kind of blown away. It was a little beyond words. I was just very impressed with how immersive it all is, and it felt like I was really there. And a lot of the objects in game, it just looked like I could reach out and grab them because the graphics were so intense, and it was just all very impressive. Going into this, I was hoping for something a lot more like Modern Warfare 2's campaign, because that's always been my personal favorite. And so far, it has got a lot of that kind of gritty, serious kind of tone. And so far, I think I've done the first four-ish missions, and just very satisfied up until this point, and very excited to get into the rest of it. But the story is pretty intriguing so far. It's not quite what I expected, but I had read up a lot on how serious everything was going to be, especially when it came to civilian casualties. It was going to be difficult to tell your enemies from civilians, and when you made the mistake of not distinguishing those two correctly, they wanted you to really feel bad about it rather than just throwing up the prompt on screen saying, civilian casualties will not be tolerated. But yeah, there was a few times I had to go back and like reload the checkpoint because I made the wrong shot, and it definitely just like hurt my core. And yeah, so definitely it's been a lot more challenging on that front, but it's an overall more enjoyable experience, I think. In the past, something that I found I didn't really like about other campaigns is that kind of one man army feel. When you're going through a level and it's just you pretty much taking on all of the enemies and having to, I don't know, infiltrate some base, and you have to do it all on your own, and it kind of just loses that realistic feel, in my opinion. And I didn't think I got that as much in this game. And this one, I felt more like I had a team that I sort of needed to rely on, but at the same time, it's not like you can depend on your team. But it didn't feel like it was all on me, and I had to do the whole thing myself, I suppose. Even though I'm the only one playing, obviously, but it did feel a little bit more realistic, which was nice. I've had a chance to kind of see the more horrific aspects of the events that take place, and from burn victims to war crimes committed on just innocent civilians in the levels. It's definitely kind of unsettling and uncomfortable. And as weird as it is to say, it's a little bit more refreshing because it's not something that we're used to. And I think kind of going out of our comfort zone is something that I was kind of looking forward to. And yeah, it is. It's very gruesome, which is not something that is pretty common with Call of Duty, in my opinion. But I think it's a nice turn in this direction to kind of focus on the more sort of not just like the shooting bad guys kind of element. It's more of kind of putting yourself in that situation and what it's actually like. It's not like you just need to kill all these enemies. You kind of have to see like how these countries and people are affected by the world of modern warfare, and it's something that is a little new for us. And I'm kind of hoping that they try to stay this course and focus on things like that a little bit more. So far, I definitely think that they have delivered on giving us a bit more of a gritty and just tough experience by putting us into a lot of these kind of stealthier operations where either the power gets out or you got to be using your night vision and storming these rooms. It's you definitely kind of feel your heart racing a little bit more, and it's just kind of like a bit scary, which is nice. And it's something that I personally was looking forward to, so I'm glad that that's been included so far. So like I said earlier, I haven't got through the whole campaign yet. I think I've just got the first four-ish levels. I think about just a third of the way through the story. And the thing that's kind of going around in my mind right now is that I know there's usually a twist in the campaign. You know, the bad guy isn't exactly who you think he is, and it begins the game by kind of trying to tell you like who the bad guy is, and I think that it's just a bit too obvious. And with all these different alliances in different countries, it's going to be I don't know. I think I'm going to be a bit surprised by who turns out to be kind of the main antagonist, and I think that'll have a big effect on where the rest of it goes. But you know, it really could just be the main antagonist could just be who they try to make it out to be in the beginning, and I'm just overthinking it. But in the past, I feel like that's what's happened. But either way, I'm like still excited to see how it plays out. Going over to multiplayer, I decided to include some split screen footage because I don't see a lot of content creators that really touch on that very much. And in the past, I've had some issues with split screen, whether it's just connection issues or even in Black Ops 4 in game. Whenever I would play split screen, one of us would never be able to see the flight path on Blackout for the helicopters, and just little things like that. So we decided to try it, and we had a lot of connection issues, actually. It took us quite a while of restarting the game or just trying to find different lobbies, anything like that. And it might have just been my own connection, but it was just really weird. I popped into a game by myself, and then all of a sudden it started working. So we did end up getting some gameplay footage of me and Mrs. Bullet playing some domination. So we'll talk about how this year's Call of Duty is different from the ones in the past. It's definitely a you notice early on it's a different change of pace. It's a little bit slower. You're not really jumping around. You don't have the double jumps obviously or anything like that in Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare, but I think it's definitely a little bit more refreshing and just a little bit more realistic, which is something I've kind of always wish each Call of Duty installment was a bit more realistic. It's fun to do some kind of funny, wacky stuff like that they did in Black Ops 3 and 4, I suppose, but I think that this time around is something that I was looking forward to. I was definitely really happy with the selection of different equipment we can use in our loadouts, from guns to grenades. It was all just a lot more. I felt like recently we've gotten a little bit more limited with our choices, and this year it's been very nice to have more options, especially for me. I've always really liked pistols, and no one really cares about those too much. It's usually like two or three in the game, and I remember back in Modern Warfare 2, I think there was, I don't know, at least four or something. Just adds more variety. I don't know. I'm always into sidearms for some reason, but and this year there was a lot more to pick from, and with all the attachments that you can put on to customize your guns, it creates for a lot of different outcomes for the weapons that you're going to use in game, which is very, very nice. As with every Call of Duty, I think that the kill time is something that kind of sets the pace or the balance for the multiplayer experience. And again, in this one is different from the rest. I think it's a little bit more, again, realistic, and I think the kill time's a bit quicker. So you're not really gonna be feeling like a bullet sponge. It's kind of, you need to be careful about leaving cover. And I don't think that so far the weapons seem particularly off balance. I think so far with the ones that I've used, it does seem pretty balanced, and you don't seem to get overpowered by people using all using like one gun in particular. But I'm sure we'll get some updates here in the near future to try and tweak those things here and there. I had a chance to try, I think, every one of the modes except for realism, just because I've never been too much of a hardcore player, but I am very excited to try to get more into gunfights. I do like that new mode of the 2v2. It's a lot more fast-paced, and I usually like to try and kind of take my time and play a little more stealthy or strategic, but something about the new 2v2 mode is just, I don't know, it's fun. It's, 6 rounds to win, and it's just a little bit different, and I usually only have one other person to play with at a time, so being someone who played a lot of duos on Blackout, it's been something nice to jump into for the new game. Something that really stands out to me in this one is I've noticed that it's a lot more difficult to kind of spot your enemies. And in the past, when we played our more futuristic games like Infinite Warfare or Black Ops 4, a lot of our armor has like lights on it and stuff, and it was a little bit easier to pick people out. And this one, it's just a little bit more. Everyone seems like they're more camouflaged with the environments, and you kind of just have to be careful about where you're moving and staying alert for enemies that could be a lot closer than you would think. So all in all, I think that as far as the campaign and multiplayer goes, if you haven't had a chance to play the game and you're just waiting to find out if it seems worth it, I personally think that if you're into a little bit more of a realistic take on it, that's just a bit more rough and gritty, it's definitely worth the purchase. I was a little on the fence about them doing kind of a reboot. It seemed a bit strange, but I so far have just been really impressed, and I'm a lot more excited to get into it now that I've had a chance to play it. I'd like to be able to finish the campaign and see how that ends, but I will try to get some Spec Ops stuff uploaded so you guys can get a taste of that. But that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. If I didn't cover anything that you guys thought I missed, just let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye-bye.